What's going on, Knicks fans? My name is Andrew Claudio. He is XJ, and we are here to preview the Knicks' upcoming matchup against the Denver Nuggets, the second game of their Western Conference road trip. The Knicks coming off a pretty good win, warts and all, against the Utah Jazz last night, 118-111. They look to make it 2 in a row for the first time since they won 3 in a row in games 2, 3, and 4 of the season. Should be a fun one to discuss and break down. First, I have to go to the preeminent Obi Toppin supporter that has existed as we go with the headlines. And we'll talk about the rotation changes and some of the things that I actually think worked last night from Tom Thibodeau. I also want to try and avoid how yesterday's pregame show went, which was just me, Mensa, and Sean arguing about the merits of firing Tom Thibodeau. While I do think the conversation went well, and I'll give you the runway to say your piece. Actually, don't worry. But from the moment that I saw an XJ commenting in the KFS live chats of our live streams and in our YouTube comment section, saying that Obi Toppin is the truth. He's the man. He is him. Obi Top him. Well, okay, it's out there now.
You get credit for that one. I definitely didn't come up with that one.
I don't know if I want credit for that one. Having said that one, I will say you've been on this for a while and saying that Obi Toppin is like the man, okay, and that you were projecting because of some of his college numbers, especially the 3-point shooting. I personally didn't see it. I thought it could improve. I just also saw some of his shooting form in some of the threes that he was taking. I also know like he got a lot of work done with my buddy Xenon, and like they have been in the gym, and like this is something he worked at to improve. Having said that, I want to give you the floor. Obi Toppin is not just the best shooter on the Knicks, the best 3-point shooter on the Knicks, but I think this is something sustainable that's going to lead to a pretty long career in the NBA. So your thoughts on the revelation that is Obi Toppin and his 3-point shooting?
So I appreciate you giving the flowers and giving me the floor for this Obi talk. But I want to reciprocate that back out to all the people who have been in the Obi bandwagon, the Obi hive, guys like Menno F, Blood of the Panda. These guys.
Obi's hashtag Obi's Avengers, man.
These guys have been on it. It wasn't just me, but I was up there. I was up there very early on. I want to say maybe like 30 games in the year one, right? Like the first 30 games of Obi Toppin's career, he looked completely lost. He looked like maybe he wasn't going to be an NBA player. He didn't know where to be. He looked shaky. His handle was awful. His shot looked bad. But after that, you could see it turning around. You could see him start to like kind of get his confidence, and then you can see everything that was there, just the skills, the athleticism, the ridiculous athleticism, and to disagree with something that you said and what a few other people have said, that his shot form didn't look good. I thought his shot form always looked good. He has such a quick release. It's the dip and his kind of the sway at the end, everything looks really clean to me. I think he just needed to be consistent with it. He definitely had a few shots where it's like, whoa, Clyde would hit him with the UFO air ball, and it's like it was a little off. He just needed to be consistent. He needed to stop rushing. And when he got minutes, you could really see him start to blossom. And I just really was super confident in the shot, but also confident in, I don't want to sound like Tibbs, in his work ethic. Like you can tell that he's working hard. You can see the improvement almost from game to game. And the biggest thing, the underrated thing, I think, is just Toppin's feel for the game. It's so subtle and really hard to put your finger on. You have to kind of like watch film and watch his movements, watch really subtle things he does, like on a pick and roll. He might set the pick and like hesitate for a second and then cut, or he might like cut when the guy is like, when his man is like turned away at the last second. His timing is really excellent on almost all of these things. His spacing is supreme. His passing is extremely underrated, which we're starting to see the passing now too, in a lot of these plays, throwing lobs, being on the passing end rather than just the finishing end of lobs. And just, that athleticism that we all knew was there. All of these things, I think, when you're really looking at it in a really like unbiased way, it's really hard to imagine he's not going to be a competent NBA player. And okay, shooting 40%, maybe some people didn't see that coming. I thought it would come, but I could understand not being on that part of the bandwagon. But 35%, I think, was extremely fair that he could get up to. Look at his free throw shooting, look at his form in college, look at his 3-point percentage in college, just all those things combined. So appreciate you giving me the flowers for that. But yeah, right back to the Obi bandwagon, all of us.
The Obi Hive and all of you that kicked us out over a year ago. I think what I mean by his shooting form is because you never know which version you're gonna get. His footwork needed a lot of consistency. He still has those UFO air balls from time to time, or side of the backboard threes that happen. But like I'm officially in the movement. Last night we transitioned into last night's game. When he got pulled from that game, it was a collective. Even one Mr. John Macker is like, this is indefensible. There was no reason to put Julius back in the game. I get it if you wanted to make the case that Julius came back in when Kelly Olynyk and I forget who the other player was, the other big man that the Jazz had that came back in. But regardless, the argument could be made that Obi was taking advantage of backups, which I would hear if you didn't make me watch Evan Fournier play an entire fourth quarter because you were trying to feel out what the correct lineup that was going to lead to a run was going to be on Sunday. So if Evan Fournier can play an entire fourth quarter over Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett, Obi could play an entire fourth quarter over Julius Randle. That is my thought on that. Having said that, the Knicks are on a 1-game winning streak.
I need to touch on that real quick, Andrew.
I'm gonna lead you into it. I'll lead you into it. The Knicks are on a 1-game winning streak. There was some good from last night, and as I just mentioned, some bad. I want to give you the floor. Your thoughts on last night's game in Utah, good and bad.
All right, yeah, definitely happy to jump in on that, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna touch on the Tibbs thing just because, it's not gonna be, like it was the pregame show the other night, which I love. Mensa and Sean were on fire. It was awesome to listen to. My rant's gonna sound a little bit different, but I really think that. Okay, I hope that you weren't suggesting that Julius was coming in for like a defensive
no, substitution. Just like when the starters come back in, I got to bring my starter back in like that. If you wanted to, because I'm less interested in whether I think it was right or not. I'm honestly just going to the psychology of a lot of these decisions. It's like, why did you do that? And if I can at least make sense of what I could think he was thinking,
absolutely,
it's not excusable, but then it makes more sense in my head at least,
So that's a perfect lead into my Tibbs rant, which is it's going to be a very subtle, mild mannered rant, but really in thinking about, I was trying to crystallize this listening to Mensa and Sean yesterday. What is my issue with Tibbs? And my real issue with Tibbs, it's two things. One is it's an issue of misaligned incentives, I think is one. And then two, it's comparing him to other modern NBA coaches. So on the misaligned incentives thing, I think Tibbs is doing the best that he can in the interest of the given team in the given year, right? I think Knicks fans want a coach to do what's in the best interest of the franchise moving forward. And those things are often at odds. And I think we've seen that last year with decisions like starting Alec Burks over quickly. That's insanely frustrating because best case scenario, even if it works, okay, we win 2 more games. But now we have worse lottery odds. We're going to see less of what Quick can do. He's going to get less experience. And then Burks is going to be in Detroit the next year after we pay a 2nd-round pick to move him. This doesn't help us in the future. This doesn't help us long term. It might help you get 2 wins if you believe in Tibbs's philosophy, but it doesn't help the franchise, right? It helps the Knicks in 2021 get a couple extra wins at best, right? So if you care about the long-term interests of the franchise like fans do, this decision making is highly irrational, and it's really extremely frustrating to watch play out, right? No matter what, we don't want to see Quentin Grimes get benched, right? If it's gonna get you 44 wins instead of 42, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, right? It might be worth it to us.
To us, it's not worth it. No,
but to the fans, it's not worth it. So we have different incentives, right? And the same is true for Obi, right? we want to see Obi blossom. We want to see him get minutes. We want to see what he can be. We want to see him fulfill his potential. We want to see him kind of get that player development on the court. And if we'd rather see that than win an extra game, right? But Tibbs doesn't feel that way. So we have that difference. And then really quick on comparing him to modern NBA coaches, we watch teams do a lot more innovative and interesting things like play small ball, play 5 out, have more sophisticated offensive schemes, and generally be kind of more flexible. Whereas Tibbs adheres to this really standard approach, and it feels like it's limiting to the team. Like, it may give you a high floor. You've mentioned this before in the past, Andrew. Like, it may give you a high floor, but again, if you care about the long-term interest of the franchise, you don't want a high floor. You want
the floor, yeah.
You want a boom or bust, right? Like,
yeah.
Either I want to be good or I want to bottom out. Well, I don't want a high floor. I don't want to be 43 wins every year. That's awful, right? That's the purgatory that people talk about. And the last thing, just to what you're saying, bringing Randall in, like, I understand that Tibbs' offense requires a mismatch creator, right? And he feels that he needs Randall, his primary guy, to do that. Now with Brunson is one too, but Randall is his primary way to do that. So he's going to pull off Obi off the floor even when he's having a great game, because it's uncomfortable for him to not have that mismatch creator on the floor. And, we'll see little of these like Randall and Obi lineups because he wants to have a rim protector on the floor. That's his comfort zone, right? That's what he wants to do. But other coaches, I'm calling them modern NBA coaches, like Will Hardy, they're gonna be a lot more flexible in their approaches. They're gonna have some more sophisticated offensive schemes, and they're gonna run systems that best utilize their talent, as opposed to trying to play guys that fit into their idea of how a system should be run. So I think these are my two primary problems with Tibbs. And it's not to say that he's a bad coach or he's not an excellent coach or he's not a basketball genius on the defensive end. Like, all those things could be true, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the fan base and what we want and what we want to see. So that's the issue. At least those are my issues.
I think that perfectly captures what the frustration is. It's like, I was going through some lineup data last night from last season. That lineup that everybody hated that had Alec Burks starting was +6 for the year for all their minutes. So you could argue that 5-man starting lineup worked. However, like, who cares? Like, we should have seen out Emmanuel Quickley, see if it works. Like, see if Emmanuel Quickley can make it work with those other four. See if you found the point guard of the future. See if he can play point guard. And that, I think, was more my frustration. And like, this season, and like, to your point about how Tibbs is going to focus on, like, this might work in this game, and that's the only game I care about. I think that's why, and like, the conversation with Sean and Mensah like continued off the air last night, and then I started to bring it up more with John after the game. Like, the third biggest problem on this team is Tibbs. The idea that they're not focusing on long-term ceilings and developmental aspirations for Obi and Quickly and Grimes and all these other younger players is an organizational decision to focus on getting those 2 more wins this year, which is why the energy has to be brought across the board for this team. However, where I'll go more to your side and push back on it being like an overall organizational issue with last night, in that moment, he chose to go a coaching decision with Obi over Randall. And man, something's gonna give eventually. I hate to say it, I don't think it's gonna be that Julius Randle's gone, which is the scary part. I know you've been saying it for a while. It is heartbreaking because I think there is a starter there. If I were to put it in order, it would be the Randall issue, the front office issue, and then, because the way I put, like, if you wanted to use an analogy, like, if the Knicks say this is NASCAR, and like where you get all of the pieces of the car from, like, say you get them from like all these discount bins, or like if you wanted to go to like I don't want to call what the Knicks have like a chop shop, because I don't think there's junkyard pieces on this team. I don't want to go that far with Evan Fournier, but like, when you're building a Ferrari, if you get like an engine from Dodge and like some of the lower tier engine houses, you see where I'm going with this analogy? Like, the parts aren't quality enough to be a race car, and everybody's just mad at the driver that he's not able to go 180 with this car, and he's like being conservative with it or what he's comfortable with. Yeah, go get a different driver and see if they could still try to win a race, but you still have the same pieces. You still have the same people that put those pieces in charge, into the same car, which is why I'm like, all right, get rid of the driver, but you're still going to have the same problems. And that's why I'm curious to see what happens if and when. But I actually think this is a good transition into the Denver Nugget game, because all of this hoopla, all of this hysteria since they gave up 145 points. And maybe we should touch a little bit first on the fact that Quentin Grimes isn't in the rotation, but Evan Fournier is also not in the rotation. They played 9 last night. Overall looked kind of good. Only got down by 6 at one point, and then took a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. They have a chance to actually turn this into a successful road trip now. I could see it, especially since Nikola Jokic isn't going to play tonight. So some stats on the Denver Nuggets. They're 9-4 in the season. They also haven't lost at home. They're 4-0 at home. They've won 5 of their last 6. Now, here's their numbers. I usually do top 5s for where these teams all rank, XJ.
We could throw those out tonight.
We could all of them.
It's a different team. I didn't even look at the stats. Is that
so
entirely
maybe you
different
can help
team?
me with this. In 404 minutes with Nikola Jokic on the floor this season, they have a 124.1 offensive rating, a 111.8 defensive rating. So they're plus 12.3 with him on the floor. When he's off the floor, the team the Knicks will be playing tonight, Nikola Jokic off the floor, it's a 104.7 offensive rating, which would be good for second last, 29th in the NBA. I think only the Lakers are worse. I'll actually pull that up in a second. They'd have a 119.7 defensive rating, so they're minus 15 exactly off the floor, which would be the worst team in the NBA. Point being said, the Knicks potentially, that's not an exact science. The Knicks are playing the worst team in the NBA tonight, but the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic have a huge drop-off, and it's reflected in the betting markets too. Shout out to our friends at WynnBet. So here's what I'm going up against right now, XJ. So last night when I was a little overhyped because of the Knicks win, I looked at the money line. It was plus 188 for the Knicks. I took it. Then this morning, still pretty hype. You know what? Let me put it in a parlay, but it was down to plus 168. Took it. As I look at the lines now, and I'll put it up for betting and sweating later, the Knicks are plus 110. So a lot of people think the Knicks are going to have a shot to win.
It was just 120.
Tonight.
I looked 30 minutes ago.
I'm looking at it right now. It's
wow.
plus 110. The Knicks are plus 1.5 tonight. So the betting, the markets are also showing trends toward the Knicks having a good chance to win tonight. Your thoughts on the Denver Nuggets without Nikola Jokic?
Yeah, I mean, you really said it. When I went to look at the stats today, I was like, "Why? I'm not even going to look at this team stats. This is an entirely different team. There's a Jokic Nuggets and there's a non-Jokic Nuggets. Those are you just perfectly summarized it. You go from one of the best teams in the NBA to a non-NBA team.
But so that is it. They're a non-NBA team.
No. So I wouldn't describe it like that. It's an entirely different feel if Jokic comes out of a game than if you start a game without him. I think that's entirely different. There's different plans. There's different schemes. There's different approaches that the coaching staff is going to take. There's different concepts for players of who's going to, be the alpha, who's going to take the most shots. All of those things are going to be different. And then the other factor is that the Knicks are coming off a back-to-back. They did have to travel from Utah to Denver. It is always tough to play in Denver regardless. So I don't think this is a layup. We're playing a trash team now and we should take care of business. I think it's going to be a tough game. I loved how they played yesterday. And I do think, interestingly, Thibodeau made some subtle adjustments to their 3-point defense, which is hard to see unless you're watching back the film 3 times. I would say 3 times would be required.
No minimum, no less than 3 times.
No less than 3 times. But yeah, on the Nuggets, kind of my highlights, they have 3 of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA right now. MPJ, KCP, Bones Highland. Those guys are all shooting over, I think on catch and shoot, those guys are all shooting over like 50%. It's like insane.
It's nuts.
It's
MPJ is
absolutely
shooting
insane.
48%.
48%. He might be the best 3-point shooter in the league right now.
On 7.5 attempts. Not named Steph Curry.
7.5. No,
not named Steph Curry.
Just right now, he might be the best 3-point shooter in the NBA.
XJ.
If
aliens
not
attack tomorrow,
moving forward.
If aliens attack tomorrow and say, XJ, you personally can have one person in the world to take a 3-pointer, save your life.
That's fair.
Are you taking
I'm not going to say
Steph Curry or Michael Porter Jr.?
That's fair. That puts
I know what the numbers say. Steph Curry is who I'm choosing every time.
You're totally right, Andrew. I just want to say MPJ is on another level right now shooting, because it's catch and shoot and pull up. From pull up shooting, I think he's over 48% on pull up shooting, and catch and shoot on wide open threes, catch and shoot, he's shooting 67%. 67% on wide open threes, catch and shoot. Like, that's absurd. And the Knicks give up about around 21 wide open threes per game, right? They give up like 40 threes per game, but 21 of those are wide open. That means no defender within 6 feet of you. And MPJ, that is autumn. That's like prime Steve Novak stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like if he's open, it's going in. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, and I think it really is going to come down to like those three guys and what MPJ does tonight. He can be hit or miss, kind of with his like aggressiveness, but they're gonna put the battery in his back tonight. So I think it's going to be a tough game.
The Nuggets are also so they're first in the NBA in 3-point percentage. They are 23 and 3-pointers attempted. So it's not like they're a team that just chucks up threes. We've talked about the Knicks' defensive strategy all season. So this is a team that normally would destroy the Knicks. They're top 5, and I originally started going through the list of all the things they're top 5 in. It's like, well, this is pointless. They have no Jokic tonight. They don't have the 2-time reigning MVP tonight. Like, there's no point. Michael Porter Jr., because I wrote down his splits. He's averaging 18 a game, 18, 6, and 1 on the season, on 50, 48, 85 shooting. And like I had the Bones Highland and the Caldwell Pope 3-point shootings numbers up there too. Like, so Michael Porter Jr., he's in the class of like guys the Knicks took Kevin Knox over. But for some reason, even though the numbers are great, he's the one I continue to be like, yeah, but he could also just like retire because his injuries have been in such a way that it's like I'm terrified to invest anything long term in him. Is that irrational, or do you take a chance on that type of talent every time?
That is a really hard thing to say. The back stuff is really scary. So if it was like another type of injury, maybe, but back, you can end your career really quickly. He missed a lot of time last year with the back thing. Like, it can act up suddenly. I don't think it's irrational. It's tough. It's like, you got to sign a guy like that, or you got to take a guy like that. If you thought he was going to be what he is now, you should have taken him for sure, with back injury and all that. Like, I think if what he's been this year and what he seems like he's approaching, I would have taken him and just took that risk. But at the time, I wasn't super high on it. I think it was fair to kind of stay away.
So what? He missed his first year. I have it now. He played 55 games his second year. Played 61 games the bubble shortened season, the COVID.
I think he played like less than 10 games last year.
9 games last year.
9 games last year. Yep. Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. He's probably the second best. Well, no, he's definitely not the best because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander exists. But of that crew of players that came after Kevin Knox in 2018, he's further down the list, not talent wise for me, of like, shoot, I wish we would have took him. But like, it's also tough to not look at it's tough to actually quantify, like, if you just get him right for one playoff run, what could this be? Which is what the Nuggets, I think, are going to have to find out this season.
Do you have that draft order in front of you?
I can. Hold on.
Yeah, because I'm wondering who the big names are. No, I know it's a really sad exercise for sure.
So Kevin Knox went 9th. Jeez. All right, let's just go through it.
Just go through the big names. You don't have to go through the whole thing.
So 10th is Mikal Bridges, who got drafted by the Sixers and got traded to the Suns. That Great job, Elton Brand. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander
That's
got
always gonna
drafted
hurt.
by the Hornets, who then eventually got traded to the Clippers. For Miles Bridges, who went 12th to the Clippers and then got traded to the Hornets.
Who the Clippers subsequently made one of the worst trades in NBA history. But
I'm glad you bring that up for as many people that yell at me about the Melo trade. Then Jerome Robinson, you don't necessarily miss, but like Michael Porter Jr. is the 14th pick. And then there are NBA players like Kevin Huerter and Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Simons and Robert Williams. And
that's a stacked draft.
It is a stacked draft. And this is, Mitchell Robinson, Jalen Brunson, like all of these players came after that.
All those players came after. I don't remember that.
After
all those
Kevin
names.
Knox.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay. That is really sad. We shouldn't have done that exercise. I
apologize
to the fans.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I apologize to the chat for that.
The Frank draft is similar. I'll do this again. The year before, Frank Ntilikina goes 8th. So Malik Monk, I think he's better than Frank, but there's like two sides of the ball. So I don't necessarily hold that against
hurt
them.
As much. No.
Okay. 13th, Donovan Mitchell. 14th, Bam Adebayo. 22nd, Jared Allen. 23rd, OG Anunoby. 27th, Kyle Kuzma. So
that one's rough, but that one's not as bad as the
Donovan Mitchell and Bam Adebayo are in one of them. What are you talking about?
That's true. It's just the SGA. SGA is gonna hurt me the most. That one's brutal.
There's a world where if Walt Perrin is in charge of both of these drafts, Donovan Mitchell and SGA are New York Knicks. That's our backcourt for the next 10 years.
Let's not
do this. That's why I hate doing this. It's such a crapshoot of a thing. And I'm glad the Knicks finally have good Italian evaluators, so Kevin Knox isn't like drafted anymore.
Exactly.
But man, anyway, let's do betting and sweating. Presented by the fine folks over at WynnBet. Thank you, everybody, as always, for tuning in. Actually, you know what? I just realized people are dropping stuff in the super chats today, XJ. So give me a second.
Yeah, let's get to them.
Aussie Knicks fan, thank you for the contribution. Don't worry, my fantasy... Oh, jeez. Don't worry, my fantasy basketball team is called Gimme Some Toppin. Love the pregame team. Let's go back to back. Also keen for betting and sweating. Happy to help.
Let's go, Matt.
So
we got other fantasy basketball team names coming up now. Some Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin, exactly. Oh God,
that was spontaneous by Andrew. Everyone,
it was literally out of nowhere. It was Obi Toppin.
Came off the top with that. Yeah,
off the top. There you go. Well done. My fantasy football team name is It's Mike Vick in a Box. Okay, Bernard Richardson is the next one. Thank you for the contribution. Hoping Grimes being left out was just deciding which game he plays for back to back. Maybe, please, maybe. I have no idea what to expect with Quentin Grimes. We didn't really touch on this, but what are your thoughts?
I don't know what's going on with Quentin Grimes. This is a bizarre situation. Like this is like I was trying to give some rationale for Tibbs' decisions earlier. I don't have it for this. This doesn't make sense to me. I think he was asked recently. I think Katz tweeted out that he was asked if Grimes would go down to the G League at some point and get some burn, which I think was a great question. Just trying to get a sense if it's like the injury or it's something else. He just doesn't think he's ready. Conditioning, what's going on? And he was a non-committal on that. So I don't know what's going on.
This
doesn't make any sense.
That's consistent through the beat and through the organization, by the way. Like nobody understands this Quentin Grimes thing. He went from a borderline untouchable, which I clarified yesterday. I think if the Knicks had included a third first and said, like, if they were like, the Jazz weren't going to be like, you still need to include Quentin Grimes. It was that third first round pick unprotected that was the actual deal breaker. Having said that, a guy that was considered a high quality asset in a Donovan Mitchell trade that the Knicks were struggling to part with, to now not in the rotation is confusing. Who knows? Maybe this is just a short-term thing. Maybe quickly proves he can be a backup point guard and Derrick Rose's minutes start to go away. Maybe Tibbs goes back to a 10-man rotation in the not too distant future. And it's really just what we all wanted originally. And it's Evan Fournier is out of the rotation. Time will tell. I know we have all of last season as a sample size, and as part of the frustration, we are on game 15 tonight. We have clearly seen them try to experiment with different lineups and different combinations. Cam Reddish is starting, and it's effective. So already we're seeing things that we didn't think we'd expect to see this season. Anyway, one more, and it is from Jordan Bailey. Thank you, Jordan. Oh, Cam with the highest potential of all our young guys. I say yes. What do you say? I think I know where you're going with this.
I'm going to say absolutely not.
Absolutely
I think Obi
not.
clearly has the high. As sad as this is to say, if we pulled off the Mitchell trade and I did not want to part with Obi, I would love to see Obi in that Jazz rotation and playing the marketing role, getting 35 minutes a night, like being able to play out there with a 5-out like pick and roll. Oh my goodness, Obi would be a menace right now. Like I disagree with this comment, but definitely Cam has a ridiculous potential and ceiling. So,
which you weren't high on.
Wasn't high on
Cam. Parting with the first for Cam.
I wasn't high on parting with the first for Cam. A lot of that had to do with because I knew he wasn't going to get playing time. And I had Quentin Grimes over him. I would still play Quentin Grimes over Cam if it came down to it. I always had Quentin Grimes over Cam. I am consistent with that. I'll maintain that until I'm shown that QG is just not that guy that I think he is. But that was really what it came down to. I didn't want to trade a first round for a guy who's going to get buried and then we weren't going to re-sign. And I didn't want him taking over Grimes' minutes. If we were going to get Cam and it was like he's going to knock Fournier out the rotation and Grimes is going to be Grimes and Cam, then yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do it. But I didn't see this coming. Also, Grimes is not in the rotation. So
I have to not necessarily push back, but I want to dig on this. So what you've seen from Cam so far this year, you'd still put Quentin Grimes in over him?
You mean in terms of like potential or ceiling?
No, just like the Knicks have invested. It seems like they've invested in Quentin Grimes. He's like starting games right now. You would still.
You're talking about Cam Reddish is starting games.
That's what I mean. Like Reddish is starting games right now. He's clearly improved defensively.
Absolutely.
I mean, especially with how frustrating it is watching RJ try to finish at the rim. The exact
Cam has been amazing.
I'm more like surprised when Cam. Okay, so I wanted to see what you meant by like.
No, I'm very high on Quentin Grimes. Yeah. I'm very high on Quentin Grimes. I always have been. And we haven't been able to see anything, so hard for me to really back that up with like on the court evidence, but hopefully we get to see it at some point.
Jordan with another one. What does Cam have to do to get respect? LOL.
Yes, I don't respect Cam because I have Quentin Grimes over him. No, I think I think Cam is a ridiculously talented player. His shooting's coming along. His defense has been the thing that's impressed me the most, honestly. His defense has been so I hope that he's playing on MPJ tonight, because if it's RJ or if it's Randall, those guys are getting cooked. So I love Cam. I just like Grimes a little better right now.
Why do you hate Cam Reddish?
Yeah, AKA I hate Cam. That's what I mean.
Yeah. This is a safe space. Don't worry. All right, let's get to it. Betting and Sweating, presented by the fine folks over at, when I can find the banner, WynnBet. Download the WynnBet app now or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. You bet $100, you win $100. Download, bet, and win. The line for tonight, as I mentioned, I was wondering if, I'm just going to just click refresh real quick to double check. It's still 110. Okay. So the Knicks are underdogs in Denver tonight. They're plus 1.5. It's plus 110 on the money line if you think they're going to win outright tonight. And the over-under for the game is 226.5. I'm going to on air apologize to XJ. I've put on, it's literally on my to-do list right here that I have to add up all the values so we can create a chart for betting and sweating of what the score is as of right now. Have not gotten to it yet. Thank you, Blue Wire, for all of the reports that I've had to fill out this week. Having said that, I've won 4 games in a row. I have not. I've after not winning at all for the first bunch of games of the season.
I think you're waiting to catch up, Andrew. That's what it is. You're waiting to get a little bit of a lead. You're like, oh, actually, I was able to compile all the scores. Yeah.
Everybody loves an underdog story, and I'm only gonna update you. And it's like somehow I'm winning, XJ. I don't know how it ended up that way, but I'm apparently winning in betting and sweating now. So where are you leaning tonight? What is your pick for tonight's game?
So I'm a little frustrated. I got to be honest, because I wanted to lock in some Knicks, the Knicks money line a while ago, but the odds
Oh
just keep
no, the
dropping,
odds
and
keep
I don't really
dropping.
like it.
Oh
I don't
no.
really like it anymore at plus 110, and the point spread being plus 1.5 when I think it was 3.5 earlier today. This is an insane drop. Like, we knew Jokic was going to be out, but that makes it a little tough for me. I still think I might go Knicks money line. If you have yours ready, I'd rather you go first and give me a second to
So what's
look
been
through a win bet.
working? What's been working for me are these player combos, points, rebounds, assists. And as we look through it, here's Jalen Brunson points and assists, RJ Barrett points and assists. As we expand all, here's Randall points and assists, Cam Reddish, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you name it. I like when multiple things can add to points when watching these. So it's much more enjoyable viewing experience when you're betting on all of this. So I'm going to go to Michael Porter Jr., points, rebounds, and assists. And 35 is plus 185. Dang, this changed too. Okay, I'm going to go 30 because he doesn't get a lot of points. He doesn't get a lot of rebounds or assists, but I do think he's got 30 points in him tonight. So I will go minus 141. Michael Porter Jr. points, rebounds, and assists tonight. He will get at least 30. So that's mine. To help XJ stall a little bit longer, I'm going to put what the other guys have on theirs. So Sean has points, rebounds, and assists for Jalen Brunson. Let me get down to it. Sean has selected 30, which is plus 100 for Jalen Brunson. Points, rebounds, and assists. And then you go to Mensa. He goes to the three-pointers for tonight. And you get Cam Reddish at least. Dang, this is easy money. So, yeah. So it's... Dang, Mensa, the line's changed on. They really like the Knicks right now over in Vegas. Jesus.
I'm looking at all. You can see live on WynnBet. It shows like green for when the lines changed to up. And all these lines changed.
Okay. I don't know if that makes me so much less confident about tonight when Vegas thinks that the Knicks are going to do good things. So Mensa's he originally earlier had 2 3-pointers made by Cam Reddish at plus 100. It's now minus 105. I'm still locking that in for you, Mensa. I hope this might be a parlay night if you guys want to bet the way the Vegas is thinking. Where are you leading?
I'm going to still take the Knicks money. I looked through some odds. I'm going to still take the Knicks money line at plus 1. I don't feel as good about it as I did at like plus 185 or whatever it was earlier, but I'm still going to ride with it. I'm going to have some faith tonight, and hopefully they don't let me down.
I can't stress this enough, how much different a team the Nuggets are when Jokic isn't there. And this is like just straight up by the numbers. Overall, they are plus 27.5 compared to when he's on the court to when he's off the court. So that's the plus 12 to the minus 15 to when he's off. So the Knicks, they have a very good chance to win 2 in a row and go to over 500 for the first time in a bunch of games. Okay, so these are our betting and sweating picks for tonight. I'm taking Michael Porter Jr., 30 plus points, rebounds, and assists. Sean's taking Jalen Brunson, 30 plus points, rebounds, and assists. Mensa's taking 2 plus 3-pointers by Cam Reddish. And XJ's got the money line for this game. This has been betting and sweating for this episode, for this edition of the KFS pregame show. One more time, download the WynnBet app or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. You bet $100, win $100. Download, bet, win. Final thoughts before we get out of here, XJ.
Final thought is I just want to say I'm absolutely in on Cam. I don't think we as Knicks fans have to do this thing where we position Cam against Grimes and Cam against RJ. Like, hopefully all these players blossom into like the peak of what their ceilings can be. At the same time, I seem very mild-mannered. I'm a crazy person, and I have screenshots of all the people who gave this Obi slander from back in the day. I have all of their names listed in my phone via screenshots of all the people who said Obi can't shoot and he's terrible. And I'm gonna do the same thing for for all the Grimes slander. So please keep it coming and keep the same energy. Like, let's give the guy a chance to get some minutes. He hasn't played NBA basketball in a while. Let's give him a year at least, okay? Chill out, guys. Grimes is the truth.
Arya Stark over here keeping his list to eventually come get everybody when he gets his powers. Okay, one more super chat before we get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for the contributions tonight. Jordan Bailey, once again, best defender on the team. Even shooting the ball, he still provides value. Quickly gets a pass all the time for bad shooting nights, but Cam gets slander. We've been very complimentary of Cam on here.
Love Cam.
That energy goes elsewhere. Thank you, Jordan. Don't get me wrong, for the contribution. Get all of your takes off with Cam, because one thing that I didn't expect going into the season was any type of contribution from Cam Reddish, and we're getting it. And it's to the point where I want to see what the long-term prospects are of Cam Reddish, not just with this team, but in the starting lineup next to RJ, next to Obi, next to all these other wings that could potentially lead to, a prosperous lineup on this team. But yeah, I hope listen, like XJ just said before he started taking receipts. Why can't we have both? Why can't we have Grimes and Quickly and Cam and RJ and Obi and all of them flourish, and it'd be a good thing for the Knicks? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for the KFS pregame show. We do this an hour before tip-off of every Knicks game. My thanks to XJ. Please give him a follow on Twitter. His handle is in the name tag that's below his face. The Knicks, obviously, you're predicting a win, XJ, because you got the Knicks money line. It's plus 1,300 right now on the parlay it's one of the lower parlays for us on betting and sweating. But enjoy the game. We'll be back here after the game with John for hopefully what is the recap of 2 straight wins on this Western Conference road trip. But until next time, thank you, everybody. We'll see you then. We'll see you Friday before the game. Knicks Nation, let's ride.